and also going to run the front end. So the process is really simple, really simple. There's just 3 steps. So number 1 is what we're going to need to do. Actually, I shouldn't start it right yet. Is we just need to install React-Icons. We're going to import some icons, and then we're going to use the tags. It'll be as simple as that. So back to here, back to the front end. I actually need to kill that so that I can install that package. So npm install. I'm going to install React Icons. All right. So where I would start is once we've got it installed, start it back up. Now I would start with probably the first page that we see. So the first page we see should be the login form. So there's a few places that the icons are very helpful. Usually the easiest place to start is by adding them to, say, buttons and headers and in your nav bar. It's usually the easiest place to start. Besides that, they often come up when you maybe have limited screen real estate, especially on a mobile device where you may need to make the buttons very small. That's a good place to use an icon maybe instead of text. Space limiting. So let's start here. So I'm going to start with the login screen and the login button. So first things first, I want to do an import, and I want to import the icons I want to use. Now, if you look at the main page, there's kind of an example here, import FA beer from React Icons FA. So they actually support a bunch of different icon packs. You can pick and choose, but I'm going to pull all mine from Font Awesome. So I'm going to pull something from React Icons from Font Awesome. You're going to see it's React Icons /FA. And then over on the left, we see the name of the icon. So let me look at some of these icon packs here. So for instance, we could go to Bootstrap as an icon pack now too. That'd be React Icons /VS. So the suffix there is kind of different based on what you're trying to pull in. Okay. So I'm going to go into Font Awesome, which is FA. And what I'm going to do in here, there is a search up on the left, but I'm just going to use the browser search, do a Control F, and look for door. Okay, and that's going to get me down to 2 icons here, FA door closed and FA door open. I'm going to go ahead and take those 2 and use those for login and logout. Okay, that's where we're going to start. So on top, we're going to kind of follow this pattern. Boop. Go into the login form, add it in here right after that link element, and I want to say which icon I want. Going back to here, clicking on the link itself will copy a little bit. You'll say copied FA door whatnot, FA door open to the clipboard, and that will just copy the name of the icon. Actually, nothing else. So usually I can just start with that, right? So I've got that 1 line of code to import it, and then I'm going to use it down below to kind of add an icon to that button. Okay, so the tag, there's an element that basically we have added now, and I can go use that here. There's the button. FA door open. It's an empty tag. Simple as that, right? So we just add the whatever icon that we're looking for. Again, I'm doing FA door open and just adding that as a tag because they're supplying their own support. Okay. If I go back and I look here now, you should have a little icon in the button. Okay. One gotcha, you're just bringing the icons in verbatim. They don't have any margin, any padding of any sort. So typically when I bring in icons, regardless of what icon pack they are, I usually need to add some margin. Okay. So you usually need to add some margin around the item. So we can do that a few different ways. Mainly we do it by sending some CSS classes. So one way I could do is I could just say, hey, let's do M1, do a little bit of margin around it on all four sides, and that's usually sufficient, right? Oftentimes that's sufficient to get you there. One caveat there, if you pay close attention, you might have noticed that the button got taller, mainly because I'm adding margin on all four sides, right? So I may want to just add margin on one side. Oftentimes that's the side that's adjacent to the text. So I could do ME, I could do M1, I could do ME1. If I do ME1, that would just be a little bit of space on the right. So kind of depending on what you're going for, you might go for M1, ME1, or MS1, depending on if it's at the end of the icon and the text you're beginning of text. But cool. So that's one thing that they kind of recognize and watch. So I oftentimes will add that to most, if not all, of my buttons. I can do the same thing if I want to go to, say, the nav bar and maybe add some icons there. So we have a login and a pet list link up in there. So I want to add an icon for both of those. So back to my list of icons. Again, I'm going to use FA door for one, and maybe I look for some sort of list icon for the other, which comes up with, there's actually two icons from Font Awesome. One that's FA list, which is this one on the far right, and then you've got FA list alt, which is the one on the far left. I'm going to try, maybe I just start with the regular one, FA list, and let's see how that goes. So I'm going to go into the nav bar, import just like we did before. So import FA door open, FA list, and from React Icons FA. Because it's obviously bringing in an icon, make sure that you're only importing the icons you're actually going to use. There's no point in making your build kind of larger, including icons that you're not going to make use of. So be careful with unused imports there. All right, so FA door open and FA list. So I'm going to add those in just like I did before. And maybe I'll go ahead and rather than waiting to add margin, we might want to go ahead and add some margin at the end. So maybe I say FME1 at the end. So ME, that's open, and for the list, I might want to do FA list. And while I'm here, I might as well add an icon for the logout button, and I think I'll use door closed for that. Actually, maybe I'll just keep door open. Let's just see how that looks if they're both door open. Okay, door open and FA list. So checking here. Beep. So I've got two icons up in top. Yay. So we've got the list icon, we've got the login icon. Let me click in, log in. There we go. So this is kind of covering that. Should probably move that to a different corner. So there we go. We got logout, we got pet list. That's pretty nice. You might notice, and to my eyes, it feels like those icons in the nav bar aren't really very centered. It feels like they could maybe be more centered with the text. And so one thing I can do there, if I were to just use a little bit of different margin, I do believe that will help. So let me just, for testing purposes, I think if I add some margin on the bottom, I think that will actually push it up and line it up maybe. Oh, that's a little bit too high. So maybe what I do is just go back to M1. Is I just say, let's apply the same amount of margin on all four sides. That is going to make the nav bar a little bit taller, but probably taller really so to make it look a little bit more aligned. Cool. Questions? So oftentimes I'll go around again and kind of fill those in. Most of the places where I find those helpful again is usually with buttons and nav bar items and other places like that, usually where they are the most helpful. Any questions? Pretty simple. So that's all I wanted to introduce you to as far as React icons goes. It's pretty easy to use. And from there you can guys get started with lab. So if you look on inside Ranken, you will find that there's a new lab assignment 6.4 that picks off where 6.3 left off. So there's a few things I'm asking you to do. Overall, one of the first things I want you to do, I think maybe one of the first things I want you to do is go ahead and add a component to report bugs. That's definitely something that I need to be able to kind of test and put some bugs into your system. So definitely pick that up next. I expect that to be at the path of the route of report as it says there. I want you to flesh out the search interface. I know some of you mocked that up already and started playing around with that. So I've got some more instructions there. Remember that we introduced that way back in Lab 404, so you'll be touching that now and having to kind of make sure all that code works. So implement a search interface for bugs, search interface for users. We want to add the comment functionality. So in terms of both being able to view the comments for the bug, post a comment. Again, some of you have started on this work, but I've got some more specifics as far as classifying bugs, assigning bugs, and closing bugs. That's what I'm asking here for as well. One thing to clarify, I am expecting on that bug editor page for there to be multiple forms. I expect really there to be a form for every action that the user can take. Cool? So that means like, hey, you've got an assign endpoint. I want to see that as a separate form from classify and close and the like. Cool. SAS, we got started on that yesterday, so there's some sort of brief instructions on that. And then finally what we talked about just now about, hey, put some icons in. Mainly what I'm looking for is in the nav bar and your buttons. Cool. Questions? Kind of cover things for the lab. So again, this is your last really lab assignment, and this is due the day before the last day of class. So you've got the last bit of this week and next week to finish this up.